has planned right from the starting of this pandemic. We have planned to conduct webinars for creating positivity by sharing the knowledge by the relevant experts on the topics, on diseases, on Panchkarma. Every webinar we have conducted. And now with valuable support of experts like Vanita ji, Ajit ji, I am really grateful to them. So our journey is now moving ahead towards 200 webinar within this 13 months. So we appreciate your cooperation. We seek your valuable cooperation and we request you to join our webinars regularly. We have decided to celebrate each and every day with Ayurveda. It is very short to understand that Ayurveda is meant for one day. Only for Dhanvantari Jayanti, Ayurveda day will be celebrated. So we have decided on the day celebrated by UNO, WHO, international and national bodies, if our health can be related to those, definitely our Ayurveda can be related. So on 7th, World Handloom Day is there. And just think how it can be related to Ayurveda. But God has given the clue and idea, and we have planned a unique webinar, natural cloths with herbal touch. So herbal dyeing, herbal printing, herbal cloths, Ayurvastra, etc., will be in the highlight on that particularly day. So we would like to welcome you all again. And with your kind permissions, I would like to start the event. After that, welcome address will be there. And Ishwar Stuti is very positive vibration to start any program in our Indian culture. So kindly allow me to share our Ishwar Stuti to start the program.
विघ्नेश्वराय वरदाय सुरः प्रियाय लंबोदराय सकलाय जगद्हिताय नागाननाय श्रुतियज्ञ विभूषिताय गौरीसुताय गणनाथ नमो नमस्ते कर्पूर गौरम करुणावतारम संसार सारम भुजगेन्द्रहारम सदा वसंतम हृदयारविंदे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्राव्रता या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्मा शुतशंकर प्रभृतिभिः देवै सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापः सर्वमंगलमांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते आविर्बभूव कलशं दधदर्ण वाद्यः पीयूषपूर्ण ममरात्वकृते सुराणां रोब्जालजीर्ण जनताजनितः प्रशंसो धन्वन्तरिच भगवान् भविकाय भूयात्। श्री धन्वन्तराय नमः। ओम शांति, ओम शांति, ओम शांति।
Dr. Pawan, your voice is very melodious.
Thank you. So nice of you. Thank you. I would like to welcome experts on the dais, off the dais, from both the side. I am observing the galaxy of dignitaries. On the dais, Dr. Vanita Sharma ji, Dr. Ajit Singh ji, Ram, सभी को नमस्कार. Dr. Neeraj ji, Dr. Dilip Ghosh ji, Dr. Alicia and Dr. Stephen. So I would like to welcome you all, and off the dais, Professor Madan Thangavelu ji from UK, Professor Vishnu Prasad Sharma ji from Guwahati, Professor Suren Chaudhary ji from Lucknow. Dignitaries, I am really today blessed with dignitaries from all over the India and Australia. It is a great day for me. I would like to welcome as inaugural speaker, Dr. Vanita Sharma ji. Dr. Vanita Sharma is traditional Ayurvedic doctor, successful entrepreneur and prolific writer. Dr. Vanita Sharma ji is thought leader and a change agent in Australia for Ayurveda. She is Deputy Chair for Complementary Health Skills IQ and Department of Education and Training. She is also International Commission representative in Ayurvedic Phytotherapy and Ayurveda from Australia. So this is a brief intro of respected Dr. Vanita Sharma ji. I would like to request her to bless us with a speech for motivation to Ayurvedic Society. Dr. Vanita Sharma ji.
I think something wrong with her camera and voice is not coming up. Dr. Vanita, can you hear us?
I can
Okay.
hear now. Yeah. Hang on a second.
Turn on your video.
Yeah, I think my network is like pretty showing bad. I was on the Bluetooth, but not sure like what's happening. I'm just like starting my video. Hang on a second.
You keep on talk then.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, madam. Clearly, very loud and clear.
Okay. As long as you can hear me, doesn't matter if I can't. I'm getting very obstructed sound today. But anyways, namaskar, and my deep gratitude to everyone, whoever is present today, and especially like Pavanji, Dr. Pavanji, Professor Madan, Dr. Ajit, even like Alicia and as well as like Scott, Dr. Vishnu Prasad ji, मेरी तरफ से बहुत बहुत नमस्कार. And I just feel honored and deeply privileged to be part of the program today and join with you all from Australia. So I just will keep it short, and I would like to acknowledge first and express my gratitude to all my colleagues, Dr. Neeraj and Professor Dilip Ghoshji, Dr. Ajitji, and Professor Madan, and all other orators that are present in today's session. So among the various countries, we are going to talk about Australia today, the status of Ayurveda in Australia. And I did my own research and a complete analysis on the scope and the practice in Australia, even by being practicing for age long here now and being among like the earlier practitioners here in Australia. So among the various countries where Ayurveda has developed a presence, its status varies widely. So outside India and Sri Lanka, the trade, practice, and education of Ayurveda is growing in many countries, but it has yet to gain full legal recognition as a medical system. Nonetheless, even without formal legal status, it has been established globally as a unique system of health care. In Australia, like other developed countries such as US, Europe, Australia is one of the other developed country. Ayurveda is widely practiced as a wellness therapy under complementary general health strain or under naturopathy with no separate recognition or regulation. The medicines are sold more often as food, herbal supplements, and cosmetics without the intervention of any Ayurveda practitioners as over-the-counter products, OTC, we call it. Many educational institutions offering various Ayurveda courses run in Australia are registered. 70 to 80% Ayurveda herbs are not allowed, unfortunately, in Australia, which restricts the practice of Ayurveda in its full form. Illegal imports and internet marketing, which risks endangering public health, increased, whilst negatively impacting the reputation of the system and the public health simultaneously. Practice and education of Ayurveda is flourishing in Australia, including all the states like Victoria, mainly New South Wales, Queensland, Adelaide, and Perth, which is South Australia and Western Australia, and have successfully propagated throughout all these states in Australia. There are a number of established centers of Ayurveda clinics all over the country, and the training in Ayurveda consists of non-practitioner courses, home study programs, and practitioner programs. Couple of associations register Ayurveda practitioners trained overseas and local in Australia now. The association's most important accomplishment to date has been the establishment of minimum practitioner standards. I myself have been practicing in Melbourne, Victoria since more than 20 years, being one of the earliest one training the local students and overseas qualified freshers, and currently campaigning focusing on a close relationship with India and the recognition of India trained Ayurvedic physicians and accreditation for Ayurveda by representing as a deputy chair for complementary health industry through Skills IQ and the Department of Education and Employment, Australia. Most recently, we signed up a MOU and bilateral agreement in November 2019 between Western Sydney University and Ayurveda University in New Delhi by getting immense support from Indian High Commission and Honorary Gondaniji, our High Commissioner, Canberra. But personally, I took the university delegates to the High Commission, and by organizing this bilateral arrangement, which was further led by Professor Dilip Khoshji, who is present among us today, fortunately. And he flew to India with the Vice Chancellor to conclude that, which was a massive accomplishment for Ayurveda overseas in Australia. So there is no significant regulation of Ayurvedic practice or education in Australia. Schools in Australia do need license or state approval to provide education. And the practice of Ayurveda is not formally regulated either. So none of the states require a license, like as in from the medical board or council, to practice Ayurvedic healthcare. Ayurvedic massage is regulated through the massage laws of most states. And in Australia, specific laws were passed protecting the practice of the complementary health and the practitioners who provide those services. So the practice of Ayurveda is protected within these laws so long as the practice falls within the limitations of the law and does not impinge on the scope of practice of other licensed healthcare professions. Having no formal scope of practice defined in legislation, the practice of Ayurveda is defined more by what cannot be done than by what can be legally practiced. While the laws in each state vary, there are many commonalities to these laws that restrict the practice of Ayurveda, the medical practice acts established in each state being the most significant. The following is a list of actions that are generally considered illegal in Australia. Practitioners can call themselves an Ayurveda doctor if possessing a degree from India or a PhD degree in Australia. The use of the title doctor, although, is restricted to licensed physicians of medicine, osteopaths, chiropractors, or naturopaths. While this is true in a clinical setting, those possessing a doctorate degree of any kind may be referred to as doctors in an academic setting and may also place the title doctor in front of the name on books and published papers. Practitioners may not diagnose medical disease. I mean the Ayurvedic practitioners. A practitioner cannot act in the capacity of a licensed healthcare physician and provide a diagnosis of a disease using common Western medical terminology. This does not mean, however, that a practitioner cannot use their classical Ayurvedic understanding of the disease to come to an understanding of a patient's condition. Hence, a practitioner of Ayurveda may declare that a patient is suffering from a vitiation of Pachak Pitta in the rest of the Annava Srota, but may not declare that the patient is suffering from hyperacidity or an ulcer, or the Sanskrit equivalents, which is Udharva, Amlapitta, and Grahini. Practitioners cannot interfere with the or recommendations made by the licensed physician. A practitioner who tells a patient not to take their medications is considered practicing medicine without a license. practitioners cannot invade or perform any other procedure that penetrates the skin or any orifice of the body. Even simple surgical procedures may not be performed, nor may acupuncture unless they are locally qualified as an acupuncturist. So if I talk about Australia and New Zealand together, many qualified Ayurveda practitioners from India have been practicing Ayurveda in Australia for many years. I'm referring to both of these countries together because anybody who is a New Zealand citizen is allowed to work in Australia, and Australians can work in New Zealand. So that's how our honorary Dr. Ajit, he can operate in both the countries and run the classes and do the practice, as long as he's registered in both, which he is. The recognition and legal status as a medical system is yet far from reality. Presently, drugs are imported, subjected to TGA. Most of the Ayurveda products cannot follow this route due to lack of required data. Still, a large number of products are imported, mainly from India and Sri Lanka, in avoidance of the law. An International Congress of Traditional Asian Medicine was held in 1979 at Canberra. After this Congress, Australian School of Ayurveda was founded in Adelaide with the help of experts from Indian universities. Later, in 1994, this institution developed into the Australasian Academy of Natural Medicine. This institution, with a recognized Ayurveda faculty, was to gain full education in Australia. It offered, at that time, diploma either Ayurveda or in naturopathy. After 4 years of training plus practice, its competency-based standard training comes under the Vocational Education and Training Authorities, where I represent into the vet sector, get for diploma and advanced diploma. So we in Skills IQ set up a benchmark and standards for all the institutes throughout Australia to follow, whether private or TAFE or any of the universities, if they're offering any of the complementary health modalities that are registered and unregistered under AFRA, they are considered under general health and a general medicine. They are not like the GP general practitioner. It's like a general health. So we are the one who designed the training packages that are used as a minimum benchmark to be followed by all the institutes throughout Australia to design their curriculum, specific curriculum for the institute. And we are the one who look at even approving and disapproving as a committee for any of the complementary health modalities that needs to be, any new qualification needs to be introduced in the institute or the college. So I've been with Skills IQ for almost more than 3 years, now, as a deputy chair. So it's quite a critical and significant role, and a very good opportunity for me to make my friend colleagues who are running the institutes and the practices like in Australia to join and get Ayurveda at the position where we had been all wanting to see Ayurveda at. I not long ago have even submitted the case for change report, which wasn't submitted because of the COVID situation. We were stuck with that. But fortunately, we could sign up the agreement between the universities well in time before the COVID hit. So in New Zealand, the situation is more or less the same. Dr. Philip Quattingham established the Wellpark College of Natural Therapies in 1990 in Auckland. This college conducts various courses in Ayurveda, natural therapies, and yoga. They conduct a certificate course in Ayurvedic lifestyle counseling, extending to total 840 hours. I may be wrong there. Don't take me like exact. So it may have varied. Another course of 3-year diploma in Ayurvedic medicine is also being conducted. New Zealand government recognizes this college, and Ayurveda faculty, including Dr. Ajit from India, supports this college. Herbs, trade, and dispensing is still heavily restricted in these two countries, currently circumventing the local rules and regulations. Does the trade and practice. So the trading of Ayurveda products outside India, in most of the countries where Ayurveda is practiced, the practitioners get their medicines from private sources in India with an unofficial import arrangement circumventing the law. The small-scale practitioners bring medicines traveling to India. Official export from India is only a very small percentage compared to the trade and consumption figures. The controversial Ayurveda medicines reported to have heavy metal contents are not officially exported from India. It is a food for thought for the authorities as to how these medicines are reaching consumers when the country of origin is not exporting it. The country of sale does not allow the sale of the same for medicinal purpose. And the fact that drugs with Ayurvedic metal and mineral contents are not to be sold as over-the-counter OTC products and are always ready to be sold with recommendation of a qualified Ayurveda practitioner. Since the trade of Ayurveda medicines in most of these countries is carried out by circumventing the local law, and mostly the drugs are not declared to have medicinal functions and sold through Indian stores and general markets, it is very difficult to accurately estimate the exact figures for the usage of Indian Ayurvedic medicine in these countries. Government of India is trying to revive the Ayurveda with its available resources. Since 1956 onwards, institutionalized research has started. Until date, more than 10,000 postgraduate PhD theses in Ayurveda have been submitted at various universities. These theses and other researches conducted by the institutions like CCRAS explain and validate the Ayurveda fundamental principles, procedures, and safety of herbal, mineral, metallic preparations. And further, all the major scientific and medical laboratories and research wings of the Government of India, example ICMR, CSIR, and its laboratories like ITRC, CDRI, etc., are working for revalidation, confirmation, and certification regarding toxicity, if at all any of these drugs or herbs. Data of these researches are being published in various scientific journals of medicine, biology, botany, and Ayurveda, and many books have been published in collecting the summary of researches done on the various Ayurveda herb or drug preparations. These are called drugs still in India because Ayurveda and conventional medicine are considered under the same category. It's only categorized separately as a herbal compounds and herbal preparations or food supplements or nutraceuticals. These are the kind of like titles that we give in the Western countries. These publications list the efficacy, safety aspects of Ayurveda medicines. The Ayurveda text lists the possible unwanted side effects of minerals, metallic preparation. Commonly known toxic drugs are being subjected for the possible toxicological studies. These are reported in scientific journals and personal communication during seminars. So last but not the least, hence in saying so, there is an utter need for the international recognition of Ayurveda as a system of medicine with an independent status as Ayurveda, not as a herbal medicine or as a naturopathy, or anything what they call in Australia. Although with skills IQ, it is definitely a separate modality and a separate qualification. Everything is registered, but it's still not regulated under AFRA, the Australian Practitioners Health Regulating Agency. Hence, I finished my scope and practice of Ayurveda in Australia, saying all the facts and the figures. I hope it has made a lot of things clear about the situation, what we have in Australia, New Zealand, and in India, and the relationship where we are now, because we are looking at developing and we need the support of the media, what Pavanji has created, and people like Ayush, Darpan General, where I did almost 40 to 50 webinars last year during COVID. And I am greatly thankful and honored to Professor Madanji, who referred my name, and also because recently we also worked together on one of the research during COVID back in India through MGCTS, like another clinical research organization, just like the Research Ethical Society of Pavanji. So we need people like yourself, like who are experienced and have created this platform, like where we can certainly approach the government officials and make Ayurveda as an independent medicine and an independent status to be registered in Australia. Thank you. Namaste. And I hope I didn't take a longer time than what I was expecting.
Excellent, madam, excellent. You have nicely elaborated within very brief that what situation. Thanks and regards for your nice speech. Excellent, excellent, madam. Now I would like to invite
Thank you.
Dr. Ajit. Dr. S. Ajit is an Ayurveda Charya, a graduate of Government Ayurvedic College, Patala, and he set up the 1997. He set up Planet Ayurveda Wellness Center in Auckland, New Zealand. He is having 42 years clinical experience, respected by all their clients and patients in Australia and New Zealand. He was instrumental in getting Ayurvedic qualifications approved in Australia and New Zealand. And as a result, these are only the two countries outside the India at that time where government approved Ayurvedic qualifications are offered to students. In 2000, he also established Australasian Institute of Ayurvedic Studies in Australia and New Zealand, where he taught these government-approved classifications in Ayurveda for last 18 years. He is currently CEO of International Council of Ayurvedic Medicine, INC, an organization established to standardize and streamline the educational teaching and regulatory standards. So I would like to welcome Dr. Ajit from planetayurveda.com. He is also multi-dimensional dignitary. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Pavanji, and regards to everyone who is present. My voice is audible.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think, Pavanji, as we discussed in last webinar, and many of the dignitaries are also were there in that time, we are talking about the position, scope, and the challenges related with Ayurveda in various countries, and your efforts are commendable. And Madanji being the backbone of this whole thing. But I think point here is that where we are leading with this thing, and that's where means something I will request you and ask Madanji and you and our eminent doctors in India with different position to summarize and collect all the information together so that it can become a benchmark, because every country's positions we are talking about, and we are very, very honored and feel proud that Australia and New Zealand are only two countries in the world where Ayush doctors are capable of practicing in their own independent capacity. We know the position of the rest of the world where our Ayurvedic physician, Ayurvedic doctors has to do the odd jobs, and Madanji will be very clearly, because he is very much closely associated with Europe, where Ayurvedic practitioners has to work under medical doctors and as a therapist, not as a practitioner. Only the medical doctors are allowed to practice Ayurveda, and then their qualifications are something, how many times you have visited India and doing short courses and other part. That's where I feel both of you and this platform should take the initiative to gather the courses which are taught in different countries, because there are definitely many countries. In Australia we have these qualifications approved, but apart from that, even in USA, Germany, various courses are run. But what level of those courses are, those kind of considerations has to come up. Why, as Dr. Vanita mentioned, we are still in that struggling phase? Because the problem is, outside India, we don't have uniform standards of teaching, uniform standards of practice, and then the availability of the product, which is a biggest challenge. Now, when we talk about qualification, because in Australia, still Ayurveda is in as a self-regulatory body. And when we talk about self-regulatory body, means all who are associated with Ayurveda, they, rather than having their personal agendas and personal interest, they should focus on first part is for Ayurveda. We all need to remember, today we are talking about on this platform with everyone's effort. Tomorrow, many of us will not be there. And day after tomorrow, others might not be there. But Ayurveda will always be there. Today, Pavanji is taking this lead. Tomorrow, someone else will take the lead. But what need to carry on is the Ayurvedic tradition, Ayurvedic philosophy, Ayurvedic principle, for which we all need to have a common goal, common vision. And that vision is, yes, in India, we have that qualification we talk about as a bachelor in Ayurvedic medicine and surgery as a basic one. Then we have the MDs. But because in Western world, Ayurveda is growing as we talk about yoga, but at the same time, so many challenges for us is that the qualifications being as a self-regulatory body, even though it has taken us so long in Australia to get these qualifications approved, and then making, because those who have come to Australia later and very much late, they don't understand and they don't know what was the situation and challenges what has to be faced in 1997 or at that time, because otherwise we would have end up into the same situation that working under a medical doctor, and they term themselves as a specialist. Today, as a BMS doctor, I feel we all should feel proud that at least we can have our own practices in this country. And that's the only one, means Australia and New Zealand are the only two countries where you can practice as an Ayurvedic doctor. You don't need any other qualification to start practicing. But still, There are challenges. Challenges because being in a self-regulatory modality, many of people who might visit India and done a 1 month course, weekend courses, or different level of courses, and then they come and start practicing in Australia. In New Zealand, also the same position. But why I am bringing up that, that has nothing to do on a personal level to any one of us. But when those people with limited knowledge come and practice, and even many of them will be termed them as a panchkarma specialist, the problem comes up and challenges what we face every day is the type of the treatment what they offer. Public start getting a little bit more different kind of impacts. I'm not means I have shared with many experts, even with the Ayush ministry and other thing, that our reputed university, even in Jamnagar, I'm sure you can quote me if I'm wrong, they have an MD in Panchkarma. On a one hand, we have MD in Panchkarma, and then we have 6 month courses for Panchkarma. How that can be possible? And even though that qualification, what they get is a Panchkarma therapist, but no one come in this part of the world. I'm not talking about Australia, but even the rest of the world, they go and they term themselves as Panchkarma specialist. And then the problem comes up. Even in Australia, we have so many practitioners who are offering home Panchkarma. Now, these are the issues which I think we need to have in a common platform to talk about, that are these something ethical for us to do? That's the one challenge we have, I think, not in Australia only. The other day we were talking about England and other countries. We have same challenges everywhere. But that's first of all is in relation to the recognition of Ayurveda as a right level of modality. And this responsibility lie with all of us, not with one person. And for that, until we all come under one umbrella, not in Australia only, but in rest of the world together, that's the only way we can move forward and keep Ayurveda as it is hundreds of years back in India. Otherwise, it will become the same, it will go to the same fate as we see today now as a yoga. But yoga was able to survive because of its own strength. Ayurveda is in a complete philosophy and practice component. It will be a bit hard when the people will start going away from it before they start really accepting is the only hope left for at the moment in the world, if we are talking about in a complete system to help the mankind. We have seen the situation of the Western medicine in this pandemic, as I shared before too, and many pandemics will be coming up. And if there is any hope, apart from vaccines, which you will keep coming up, will be modality or philosophy like Ayurveda. And then the part for all of us who are associated with Ayurveda, we have our moral and ethical responsibility, how we safeguard it, how we practice to its values in a right way. And then it comes the biggest challenges for us in regard to the qualification. Even though we were able to get the qualifications approved, but at the moment there is no standard qualifications who can teach the courses. Now, people who have never even visited an Ayurvedic college or have no understanding on herbologies and pathologies at a deeper level, have never even read charka or like that, those are the people who are teaching Ayurveda. And when we talk about these regulatory bodies and other things, they have not taken any initiative to talk about these things. Means being on the responsible position, I think it's a moral and ethical responsibility of those people who are associated with the science that they should be bringing these concerns with the authorities while we all are doing our part. But unless this does not get changed, Ayurveda will be diluting. That is where my concern, as our association's concern, which we bring up at a different platform, is coming up. So one college will teach the same qualification to that level that its practitioner, when they go out in the market, they are able to practice Ayurveda with a lot of confidence. And then on the other side, there are practitioners who have no understanding what is the pathology mean, what is the eightfold examination means, and what is the tenfold examination means, and not a heavy understanding on the herbology component. And when they practice, I have nothing against them, but when they practice, who experience from them the treatment or the advice, when they don't get the benefit, what goes wrong is the name of Ayurveda. That's where our concern comes up. And that's where we are shouting all together in Australia all the time that come together, work out. But I hope your leadership will be very, very valuable for us, where you can take up these concerns more strongly, and not only for Australia, but rest of the world also together, so that at least in our own lives, we can see Ayurveda coming as a uniform standard of teaching, practice, and then the product efficacy. On the other days, Pavanji, you mentioned about your companies, and we really applaud, means so much research and other things are going in your own company there, and there are many other companies who does that research. But the issue is that research really does not give any benefit to us. I'm sorry to say that in Australia, as I shared before, there is a one body, we call it as TGA. That is a regulatory body for our all the products. It is more stronger and stringent than the FDA. And what issues we are having, because initially, as I said before, in 1996, there were only 34 Ayurvedic herbs on their list. And we have to keep working. And now we are able to get quite a number of the Ayurvedic herbs approved or recognized by them. But there are still so many Ayurvedic herbs which they don't recognize. And even though we have to keep making an effort, but then on the other side, the problem I shared before also, one biggest problem is many of our Ayurvedic practitioners, even though they know that using rasa preparations, using classical preparations can be a bit tricky in these countries, but still they keep using those products. And now again, no personal agendas here, but when officials or public come to know about those products, they're not going to blame the individual, they're going to blame Ayurveda. And that is what our problem comes up. And at the moment, same situation is happening. Some of our practitioners are under scanner by for having these heavy metal products practicing in using in their practice, and some practitioners are terming themselves as a medical doctor, when we all know that we are not medical doctor or mainstream medicine. Why we have to term ourselves? We have to have ourselves simple as Ayurvedic practitioner or whatever level we are practicing. That's how it should be going. Now, getting TGA approved products is a big issue for all of us. And that's where I will appreciate Madanji and Pavanji from your company also. If you can help us to get somehow, and I can share with you the process. Process is not that, as I mentioned before, that there is no one single company in India which is approved by TGA that yes, they are GMP certified from their angle. And it is not difficult, but it is very costly. what the process is, and I have spoken to many companies in India, including Baidyanath and Ban and other companies. I'm sharing with you, Pawanji, on this platform, and will request you that if we can look into that way, it's in a business proportion, right, for your company too. Because if you can get your company approved by TGA, then we will be in a position to get all those products from your what your research and other thing has done to these countries, and that will make life easy for every practitioner who is practicing Ayurveda here with a quality product. But that's in a process is what we need to. We can share while we are on the ground that what ways are done here and the challenges what we have, and I think within a bigger involvement of officials like you or the other Ayush officials, things can be improved and regularized for practice, teaching, and then using Ayurvedic product. Getting Ayurvedic product approved here by the TGA is a very, very costly exercise. That is why small practitioner or individual practitioners or associations will always struggle to get those things done on their level. Unless either we get the Ayush support on an official level or we get some reputed companies who have their own individual RD department, they come and support, and then they take up the lead in providing the quality products in this part of the world. And from our side, whatever we are doing from our association, we are doing our effort, and focus for us is safeguarding Ayurveda for the sake of Ayurveda, not for the sake of myself or my practitioners who are working under after getting their qualification from AIAS, Australasian Institute of Ayurvedic Studies, which is offering these courses for the last 20 years in Australia. And we have more than 200 practitioners practicing under these two qualification advanced diploma, which give them the Ayurvedic practitioner qualification. And then there is a diploma level, which is we call as a lifestyle consultant. So these two qualifications are approved and they can practice. And there is a clear guideline from the association as well as a scope of the practice under these qualification, what they can practice, what they cannot practice. And then it becomes again our own responsibility that we don't go outside our boundaries, because being in a self-regulatory modality, we cannot police all the time to them. Neither one will be looking into that way. It's all about our conscious effort. We all need to make those efforts together for the safeguard of Ayurveda. And that's what I would like to share here. And to my all colleagues, Ayurvedic doctors, and our own practitioners, I always have asked them, working together, we can grow. Working in different directions, we won't end up anywhere. So, Madanji and Pavanji, my message
Excellent, sir.
platform is that please come together and look for the wider scope of Ayurveda, which you are doing. Thanks, everyone.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. बहुत अच्छी आपने प्रकाश डाला. I am very grateful that you have enlightened every aspect, positive and negative, of the practice and system in Australia and New Zealand. Definitely, sir. We will move in right manner and right way under your guidance. Definitely, you all are our resource persons. Definitely, sir. Great regards, sir. Now I would like to request Dr. Neeraj Thakurji, consultant Ayurveda, founder director Ayurveda Holistic Healers Clinic, former NSW state representative, Australasian Association of Ayurveda, director treasurer GHARS, Sydney, Australia. I would like to welcome Dr. Neeraj Thakurji.
Thanks, sir. Thank you very much, and welcome to all eminent doctors on the platform. So, as the topic is like the scope of Ayurveda in Australia. So, I just give you my bit of history. Like when I came in Australia, is when came here as an Ayurveda practitioner here and migrated at that time as a naturopath. So, because I was doing my practice in India as well, like from Chandigarh as a Vanita, she is my class fellow over there. So, I I have things in my mind like what practice we were doing there in India, and similarly, I'm gonna start the practice over here. When I reach here, almost 15 years before, when I reach here, I saw like where to go and what to do, and struggle hard to get the things solved. Like how does this practice can be started in Australia? I contacted Dr. Vanita as well, like but somehow like some of the gap was there. And when I get registered with AAA, that is Australasian Association of Ayurveda, I started my practice. And when I started the practice, it was just the army man without, you got the soldier, I'm the soldier, and without guns or bullets in my hand. There wasn't any medicine available. So the basic thing is like how much of advice you can give to your patients. This is Ayurveda, you go with this and this. Ultimately, you need some medicine to cure the problems of your patient. Anyhow, till date, or at that time as well, like we got plenty of herbal medicines in our grocery shops. So I've been to grocery shops, get some medicines. I don't remember, like at that time, many medicines comes up like Himalaya drugs, Himalaya medicines, single herbs, and some their compound medicines were there. I took some of them and started my practice very slowly. Although there are some pros and cons of the practice, but at that time, when I started the practice in Australia, in Sydney, I started the practice. There wasn't any other practitioner. Whosoever was there, when I called them up to get some information like how does this Ayurveda work and from where to get some products, nobody picks up the phone. And one man pick up the phone and they say like, yeah, we do have some medicines. And trust me, what they were doing, he wasn't the Ayurveda practitioner. Dr. Vajit, what I've said, he was just like have some knowledge about herbs. He had some mixtures made in his own house, and he said like these are the medicines. There's no name on that. They say like this what is this consist of. I was very skeptical for that. How could I do the practice with that? And I didn't buy any medicine from them. Slowly, the things goes on. Still, I earn my bread and butter through Ayurveda. Bit hard and struggling. My wife got the job, but I want to stay in my profession. It was so I mean like I can't do any other work. I have my friends gave me some suggestions, go for this job, they'll go for this job. Now I said I want to do the Ayurveda practice and I'm going to start with this. I'm going to live with this. Whatever I earn, I'm happy with that. I don't want to be millionaire. And trust me, Ayurveda won't make you a millionaire as well over here. So if I see now, there is a lots of tremendous recognition of Ayurveda in throughout Australia. Lots of practitioners are there. At that time, there was maybe 10 or maybe 5 or 10 practitioners throughout Australia. And among them, only 2 or 3 practitioners were active as doing as a practice. Just imagine, just in Australia, 2 or 3 practitioners. Among them, I was the one. I have seen that phase as well. Like so, but if we see now, there is a lots of recognition. There is a very good pathway for Ayurveda. More of the private funds are there, which are recognizing the Ayurveda, and they are helping Ayurveda practitioners to get the funds for the patients, and they are giving benefits to the patients as well. Like, but the level of Ayurveda which we are approaching to which we want to approach this system of medicine on a higher level is very, very, very difficult at the moment. The first thing, the very difficult is the number of practitioners in Australia. The number of practitioners in Australia is you can count them in hands. It would be around 130 to 140 practitioners throughout Australia, which are registered with associations. And among them, how much of them they are practicing, you can just imagine. Very less of them they are practicing. Probably 50 to 70 people are practicing. The qualifications over here, as Dr. Ajit is running his institute, they are providing a certain other institute. They are providing diploma in Ayurvedic lifestyle consultations and advanced diploma in Ayurveda. I spoke to some of the traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. Like I was, as I was the very active member for the Australasian Association of Ayurveda 5 years back. When I want to get this recognized in a main medical stream, not in a mainstream. Like there are some there is a one government authority which undertakes these therapies or these the medicine system, like traditional Chinese medicine system and chiropractors, or you say like the allied health system, that comes under AFRA, that is Australian Health Practitioners Regulatory Agency. So I think why we can't, as a practitioner, can go into that agency, regulation agency. But the problem came around, the number of practitioners is very low. So we can't go under that stream. And if we are, the number is doesn't matter. The second thing comes, Chinese traditional system medicine, if 2 decades before, wasn't even recognized by the government. Now that is recognized by the government AFRA agency, and that is under the Medicare healthcare system, and they comes under the AFRA registered practitioners. And how did they do? They did a lots of work. They did lots of documentations. They have now practitioners are more than 20,000 people, traditional Chinese medicine practicing in Australia, throughout Australia. And I'm just wondering, like, they are all doing traditional Chinese medicines, herbs only. And they have so many herbs available, which are listed in TGA. And this is if they have done in 20 years, in 2 decades, and we are not able to do anything, like not considering more than 50 or 70 herbs under the TGA process. And if the institute people, they can go for the higher education, if the BMS can be started here in Australia, that is the one pathway where we can somehow like have the window open to get into AFRA. But there is no BMS or degree level of Ayurveda in Australia, which I believe lots of money is required. And of course, the students are required to get, the funds as required from the universities. But there is another way around. If we go the progress with the Ayurveda, as I said, like it is well recognized. It is well recognized in Australia, and it comes under the complementary health therapist NEC, no elsewhere committed. If these things can be considered, then we can consider this on a higher level if the degree is being, can be started over here. Now, Australia basically earns revenue from international students or tourism. That is the basic main major revenue source which they generate from. If we go for some of the courses which are high level and which helps to migrate the student in Australia as a permanent resident, this can be very much helpful. People come to study here nursing, BSc nursing. People come here to do other medical courses or engineering courses, which cost them $120,000 to $130,000 a course fees. In Indian currency, it goes to 60, 70,000 lakhs of rupees. So why can't we start this Ayurveda over here to study as a 6 year, and that there is a pathway to get permanent residency or some provisional residency which leads to the permanent residency. That is a one pathway. And very pathetic to say, the complementary health therapists, which I say, what therapists they include? Dance therapist, drama therapist, hypnotherapist, music therapist, play therapist. There is no Ayurveda therapist. There is no one. Even the massage therapist can get residency further if they would have the degree level or advanced diploma level or some degree or still skill level 2 qualification from Australia. And the scope, the main scope, if you want to sustain the Ayurveda, is the only one thing can save Ayurveda is that what I said before, if you get the medicines. Without medicines, people are doing the things, they are doing panchkarmas, they are doing massages, and trust me, there is no Ayurvedic massage recognized in Australia. You can't do Ayurvedic massage. You can't claim from any private fund as an Ayurvedic massage therapist. There is none of the position of Ayurveda massage therapist. This is only being created by the BMS doctors, like Ayurveda massage therapist. There is none of any recognition of this therapy in Australia. So, which, I mean, like the people do the panchkarma therapies, starting with the snehan and massages and purgations, the vomiting, the emesis is not allowed here, bloodletting is not there, rakt motion is not allowed here. So what are you left with? Only with the massages, snehan and svedana, and that's it. Massages only are there, which can be wrong, and you can be taken in a trouble if something happened wrong during these procedures. The best thing, if we get the medicines, as Dr. G said, there's a one authority which is TGA, Therapeutic Goods Administration. They have their own protocols, and the thing is, some of the doctors associations, they say Ayurveda is being used from thousands of years. Come on, these medicines are safer ones. Why don't you allow us to use that, even the Sitopladi Churana or the Hingvastik Churana or the Avapatika Churana, or simple thing that neem. Neem, you can't take it orally. Even it is not allowed to use local application. Right? So they say we have to prove them these are the safe ones. Now, that is the other way around. That is very long process to give our clarification. Thousands of years being used and none of these things happen, because the reason is we can't trust the manufacturers. The only way we can go with, we have to go with the rules and regulations what the TGA have maintained. And trust me, they are not hard. They only need the true values of herbs, the right information, the right composition of the herbs, and no contaminations, and the further protocols of the manufacturing place where the medicines are manufacturing. If some company in India is like GMP, I know I have my pharmacy there in India before when I came here. I had packing of my capsules by my hands, and at that time it was so in a sale. So if I was doing that practice, there are thousands of small pharmacies, they're doing such type of practices. In this case, the big pharmacies with the reputed these formulas and the manufacturings with international standards, they should come forward. And there are the aspects like why the pharmacies should come forward. what benefits they are getting from Australia. In the beginning, the benefits are not so much. The reason is the number of practitioners. If the one company is producing $100,000 of products and the practitioners, only 50 or 70 practitioners are doing any of practice and they're prescribing their medicines, how much of benefit they're going to do? So it is very hard. But in the coming future, if you start with a number one, slowly go for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, definitely the day is not far away. If I'm saying like what I have seen 15 years before in Australia, there was nothing. Now the things have been changed. Lots of recognition is there. People come just for the consultations. I get my patients from the specialists, not from the Indians. They are the Goras. They are the English people, English, MBBS, MD, specialty doctors. They don't say, but they are skeptical to send the patient for Ayurveda treatment. They don't send straight away. They give the option. If they are not getting any relief, they give the options. Why don't you opt another alternative medicines? Among them, I believe the Ayurveda is there. And this thing clicks into the patient's mind. They search on web, who's the Ayurveda practitioner? This is how does the work. Some of the GPs, general practitioners, they refer to me. The reason is there is always a full stop in an allopath. It can't say they have the reason. There is no reason. There's an idiopathic. They have don't any explanation. The things, they get stable, they get settled down. And the only thing is this, they have to make the substitute to the patient unless it is not fatal to the patient. Now we get if these it is very good to say that the MBBS, which is being taught here in Australia, in the final year, they got the option to learn something about the Ayurveda. They have the subject to learn Ayurveda. I was not aware that thing. One of my patient, she called me up and she said, like, doctor, I want to send my daughter to you to give some, some guidelines about the Ayurveda is what it is. I said, why she need it? Because she was doing MBBS and she have opted for the allopath as an additional subject just for the information, not for the practice, just for the information what Ayurveda is. If they knew it, it means it is justified in their syllabus as well. Like they got the options. It is the Australia is a very beautiful place to live. The reason is there is a diversity. There are so many multicultural people living here. Chinese, they do the Chinese medicine. Indians, they do traditional Indian medicine. Homeopaths, they do homeopath. Even in Australia, there is a herbal medicine specialist. They are known as like the Aboriginal ones. They use the herbs. They have their on the on ceremonies. Like they have the dhumapan. They do the dhumapan. They do the smoke of herbs to cleanse the fire. That is ceremony. If we go for the Ayurveda, we do have that. We have to correlate that thing with them as well. Like the Maori, they have their own traditions over there. So they recognize the things. Only what we have to do is the regulation of Ayurveda as a practitioner. We need the medicines, which nowadays is getting a lots of troubles. And that is not created by the TGA. It is itself created by ourselves. Some of the physicians, they're not following the protocols. When we get registered with any of associations, they have their own protocols, code of ethics. They have their TGA exemption of herbs. Nobody wants to follow. They want to get the results. If you want to use any, let it be if you are using any bhasma or some metallic medicine. It is well said in Ayurveda. Don't use it for a long time. It gets satme, or it may it may create a trouble with the organs. Stop it for a while. But no, the practitioners, they are murkhas over here. They are the stupid fellows. I would say because of few people, the whole community is suffering, and they are impersonating themselves as a practitioner of both the system, the Ayurveda and the allopatha. That is there in our home country, not in over here. We should not impersonate ourselves as a medical practitioners, as a medical, the modern medicine practitioners. But they are treating their patients, and now they get stuck and they get created the trouble to the main other people as well, like the other practitioners as well, like other practitioners. If I'm doing my practice, now I'm getting scared as well. I was doing my practice with the with the normal kitchen herbs as well, like before. If I go to 1 decade back, there wasn't more or much herbs available, the natural kitchen herbs available. Only they are available in Indian grocery shops. Now the biggest stores of Australia, the bigger giants like Woolworth, Coles, they are supplying the normal kitchen herbs. They have the one Asian or the some spices section where you can get even you can get the clove, you can get the long, you can get the lychee, you can get the cardamom. I mean, like, they are bay leaves are there. What are these? These are the medicines, we can use them. So the things are being changed. Only the manipulation, which is to be which can be manipulated by the stringent, we say, very stringent protocols, ethics. Government is not against the Ayurveda. None of the TGA is against the Ayurveda. I spoke to the TGA members as well. They say we don't have any problem until unless you create some trouble. Until unless your medicine creates some trouble. So far, is everything is going on, nothing is happening. Is all good. And we do believe using normal cardamom or clove or some kitchen herbs like simple, if I say cumin or curcuma, haldi, is not going to say anything to any of the problem to and creating any problem to the normal person. This is how you can use. And the development of Ayurveda, if the Australian people can see, if there is Australians over here on a platform now, even the big chemist warehouse, the chemist shops, they have got now the single herbs, even the composition of herbs. Brahmi with ashwagandha for stress and anxiety, valerian capsule tablets, which is known as tagar, haldi, curcuma. Why they are coming up? Because the requirement is there. 60 capsules for $44. Trifla is there. Tricato is there. So the things are coming up, but slowly and slowly. But only 4 or 5 things can't make you a full-fledged practitioner. The other things are,
Excuse me.
yes, sir. That's it. The only my things are, it's very well in Australia. The practice is very good. There is a good and a bright scope. Only the things should be manipulated. The reason not for the manipulation is the number of practitioners and the number of the business, the amount of the business the people can pay. And it is request to the all practitioners as well, like whosoever is doing as a quackery over here, they should follow the protocols. If one thing goes wrong, it destroys the whole community. That's it. And thank you for giving us the platform, Dr. Madanji, and all eminent people over here on a platform. Thank you very much, sir.
Excellent, Dr. Neeraj.
Thank you.
Nice, straightforward views. Maybe positive, maybe negative, but you have compiled each and everything. Excellent, but really excellent.
Thank you.
I would like to invite now Dr. Dilip Ghosh, PhD in Biomedical Sciences from India and postdoc from USDA ARS HNRCA at Tufts University, Boston. He is international speaker, facilitator, and author, professionally associated with NutriConnect and Trigonella Labs, Australia. means he is dignitary of Ayurveda in Australia. He is fellow of American College of Nutrition, professional member of Australia Institute of Food and Science Technology, an advisor and executive board member of Health Foods and Dietary Supplement Association, HATSA. So I would like to welcome Dr. Dilip Ghosh. It is the name of our state BJP president also here in West Bengal.
Yes.
So I would like to welcome, I am very much familiar with this name. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Dr. Dilip ji. Welcome.
Good day, everyone. Nice to be here, definitely. And I would like to thank Dr. Prabhanji for giving me this opportunity. Also, Vanita also. Actually, she introduced me to this just 2 days back. I think I have been watching the previous 3 speakers' presentation also. I like the Niraj one. Is it as you said, it's a very, very straightforward, and that is a true story. But the other speakers, some glorification of Ayurveda, some sort of things, that's I found. I will restrict my presentation within the scope and of this presentation. And first disclosure, I am not a Ayurvedic practitioner, but I have been in this area in research development, clinical trials, policy for decades long in natural medicine. And I think this is the right time. That's why maybe some of my words or some of my tone that is not in your line of thinking. Maybe I will talk slightly out of the box also. I think this is the right time to take the Ayurvedic flag from the Sanskrit savvy scholar in India and go to the global market also. As we know Ayurveda as an ancient science of life has long history, and also the basic principle that may be valid today also. However, the essence of science is continuous quest for the new thing, new knowledge. So that means I saw you also experienced our disease manifestation is changing. You see the COVID pandemic, global also, our behavior, our lifestyle, our genetics also changing. So why not Ayurveda? So that means it is the time to adapt the modernity and go to the mainstream. So heritage, pride, and past glory-based attitude. I worked with many Ayurvedic stalwart in India, even the Imami also. I worked many years on new product introduction in India also. But I found that heritage, pride, and past glory-based attitude is still there. But no tradition is a static entity. We need to embrace the modern science, modern medicine concept, and we have to go like this. So I have one presentation I would like to show you. Can you see it? Okay, so today I will talk on Ayurveda looking in the past for the future. So how can I move future? And I will concentrate on the Australian perspective, not the global perspective. So few books, it is not purely on the Ayurveda, but in the periphery of the Ayurveda, that is the nutraceutical, natural medicine, and how the sick that is the pharmaceutical industry, these are moving to the natural medicine industry. So if you have time, if you're interested, you can read this book. So 1.5 years, that is a complete natural medicine, clinical efficacy, safety and quality. And all this book published by the world top 2 publishers, the CRC Press and Academic Press also. The next one is published just a few months back, that is on the brain health and beyond. So I am giving you real-time facts. Ayurveda recognized as a system of medicine in 16 countries. You have to understand, Ayurveda is recognized in Australia as a regulatory component. That means TGA considered Ayurveda as a part of the complementary medicine, but not as a system of medicine. But you should be proud, the 16 countries in the world and some in the very leading European country also. Oh, why it is going? The Hungary, Switzerland, Cuba, Brazil, Nepal, Sri Lanka, you can read this one. And few European Union countries also, they partially recognized Ayurveda. But unfortunately, Australia, New Zealand, not in the list. So some market dynamics, it's a huge market and that is growing almost every year, and especially after this pandemic. The total herbal medicine market, global market is 111 billion US dollar. The current valuation of Indian herbal market is 50 billion rupees, that is 660 million, and growth is 14%, that is fantastic growth. The global market size will be 5 billion, the Indian Ayurvedic medicine, by 2025. And Ayush product that is exported to more than 100 foreign countries, either as medicine or as food supplement. You can say this is not my things. It is coming from the Indian newspaper also. There is a huge growth in Ayurvedic medicine, not in India, but in the globally after this pandemic starts. Just few examples, the Chyawanprash sales across the industry grew 283% last year. Branded honey 39%, especially Dabur Chyawanprash that surged 700%, including Imami Jhandu's Chyawanprash and Imami's honeys also. They also experience a very impressive growth. So what are the drivers in this area? So what will take your product or Ayurveda to a next level? So pharmaceutical touch in the dosage formulation, because my background is pharmaceutical. I worked 10 years in a Dutch pharmaceutical company. So that means I can see this sector from both pharmaceutical and natural medicine perspective also. So you need to think the pharmaceutical touch in the dosage formation. So that is enhance the psychological adaptability towards the why it is automatically going, sorry, evidence-based approach. So you have to add evidence, not the traditional knowledge. Traditional knowledge definitely has some space, but you have to do some evidence-based approach. Attitude difference. You can see the people are moving to the natural space after this pandemic. I think you need to capture this consumer attitude, but you cannot sell the traditional Ayurvedic concept to the global market. So you have to adapt the modern medicine concept also. And government and Ayush initiative also. Ayush and government through the CSIR Niti Aayog, they have taken a lot of initiative to go to the global market. Ayush already launched 14 Ayurvedic chair around the world. From Western Sydney University, we have a world largest traditional medicine research center. We call the Nikam Research Institute. We have signed 3 MOUs with Ministry of Ayush, All India Institute of Ayurveda, and the Pune University also. So we are going to start a Ayurvedic professorial chair in Ayurveda, but because due to the COVID, we cannot recruit the position also. So our target not only in the research, clinical research, but also the education also. So we have a very, very successful record of doing a bachelor, master's and PhD in traditional Chinese medicine. As Neeraj and Vanita said, the traditional Chinese medicine is a licensed practitioners in Australia, and we have done this through our institute also. So that means there is every possibility, if we get support from the you guys and also from the Indian fraternity, Indian government also, we will definitely do this in near future. So key factors, I took this from Professor Bhushan Pattabardhan. He is renowned in this area. So we need we call sit to patient. It is not only the practitioner's thing. So good agricultural practice. So that means where you grow your herbs, how you grow, how you extract, and how you develop the extract. So that is good manufacturing practice. Then ethical bioprospecting, traditional knowledge, correct identification, that means standardization of quality. Then you have to go through the good manufacturing practice. This is very lack in Indian products also. I will come later also. Then you have to do the safety toxicity study, pharmacodynamics, pharmacokinetics study, and you have to do all this in a good laboratory and good clinical practice environment. That is the GLP and GCP environment. Unless you do your study in this environment, no global body will accept your data. So this is the model of success. If you see the outer side, the quality control of the raw material, quality control of the herbal formulation, validation of the therapeutic doses and the clinical trials, you have to run through this model also. Maybe this there are a lot of discussion whether the double-blinded placebo-controlled trial that is valid to traditional medicine. I also agree, because traditional medicine is a combination of lot of things. It is not a single thing, but we have to adapt. We have to adapt to the right model also. So if we go to the Australian perspective, Australia is a small market, we all know. So 24-25 million people, but the per capita consumption of traditional medicine is one of the highest in the world. You can see the 8.1 million regular consumer in Australia. Nearly 76 to 80% Australian, they are taking traditional medicine every year. So it's the highest consumption in the world. So you can see that is the $5.5 million. That is the revenue in this area, and that is almost equivalent to the prescription medicine. Prescription medicine is 6.7 billion, and the complementary medicine is 5 things. And most of the complementary, these are selling through the pharmacy channel. 41% pharmacy, supermarket, health food shop, natural therapy practitioners also. So this is the TGA, who is the regulatory body in Australia, Therapeutic Goods Administration. So this is the complementary medicine. This is the top level complementary medicine. Traditional medicine, herbal medicine, vitamins, minerals, nutrition supplement, homeopathic medicine, aromatherapy, these are all under complementary medicine. That means when you are talking about Ayurveda, Ayurveda is part of the complementary medicine. So we have 3 tiers of regulatory process. First one is the listed medicine, that is Australian listed medicine. So these are the low level indication, health enhancement, health maintenance. You cannot claim any disease claim, disease cure claim. So they introduced the middle one, that is just last year, that is listed assessed claim. So this is intermediate between drug and complementary medicine. So that means health benefit for a serious disease, you can claim prevention, alleviation, or management of the non-serious condition. So like the prevention of hay fever. Hay fever is a disease. So you can claim that hay fever with this assessed claim. And high registered, that is the OST-R product, prevention, alleviation, cure, and management of the disease. This is a very high level claims. You can see the listed medicine, and these are the registered medicine. So listed medicine is the low risk medicine. So it is a easy to register, but you have to prove the chemistry, quality, and efficacy of the product. So there is no traditional claim, and you can register this product. You have to do the good chemistry. You have to manufacture in the GMP environment, and you have to do some clinical trial, at least one double-blinded placebo-controlled trial to prove the efficacy also. So strict manufacturing standard, that is most important. And as my previous speaker mentioned, most of the Indian formulation, they failed in this area, but I successfully registered at least 12 Indian herbal product with TGA also. So that means you have to develop that level of dossier to register this product. So most important thing is the GMP certification. So it is not that you have to be a TGA GMP, because TGA, Australia is a small market, maybe Imami type of company or Baidyanath or other big companies, they are not interested for this small market to invest $100,000 million. So that means, but if you have a big GMP or CGMP or pharma GMP, you can still manufacture this product in India. You can register your product in Australia also. So that means India has 127 TGA approved manufacturing facility, mostly in the pharmaceutical area, but 7 to 10, I am not exactly sure what is the number, but that is within 10, these are TGA approved herbal manufacturing facility in India. We discussed about AFRA, that is the Australian Health Practitioners Regulation Agency. So one thing is qualification assessment. Ayurveda is in this space, but qualification assessment and the license of practitioner, these are completely two different things. So Ayurvedic practitioners, they don't have any license to practice. They are the lifestyle consultant. You can see the AFRA, these are the 15 national board. They are under registration with AFRA, and traditional Chinese medicine board also part of this AFRA. That means any TCM practitioners, they can practice with license, but the Ayurvedic practitioner, they cannot. So these are the all goals. When we'll start the Ayurvedic platform in our university, in our research center, we have 15 years experience to develop the traditional Chinese medicine in Australia. And when we have Ayurvedic chair in our university, and when we have start direct consultation with the government of India, Global Ayurvedic Fraternity, Australian Ayurvedic practitioners, and also the New Zealand Ayurvedic practitioners, then we can start to resolve all these issues. As you know, there are many practitioners recently, they are chopped or sacked from the practice due to some wrongdoing. And just recently, 1 month or 1.5 months back, the big consignment from Indian formulation, also from Takam or big Indian herbal formulation company, that was confiscated by the TGA and customs also, because they are not allowed unless these are approved by the TGA. you cannot import. Even the Ayurvedic practitioners in Australia, although we are called them Ayurvedic practitioners, but they are lifestyle consultant. They are not allowed to import. These are illegal because, as you know, these most of the regulatory body, they are very small number. They cannot control or oversee all these irregularities. Indian products are selling Ayurvedic from Patanjali to Dabur to all these. They are selling in the Indian grocery shops, but these are all illegal. Every year, TGA raided these Indian grocery and they confiscated all their products in Australia. So we have to register or get the license from the Ayurvedic practitioners, so they can practice as a practitioners. And then there is a law: the practitioners can dispense unregistered Ayurvedic product at their practice. But because they are not registered practitioners, these are not legal to import Ayurvedic product from India. So I have been in this area for a long time. If you have any question, any clarification, you have my email ID here. I would be happy to work with you. And we are dedicated to uplift Ayurveda at some different level also. And we can only do this. The university can do this. We have strong background in this area also. So thank you very much for your attention. Any question you can write to me, but I think we are out of time. So thank you very much.
Great, sir. Great. Very nice presentation, brief presentation, but informative. Very nice. Very nice. Now I would like to request Mrs. Alicia Hay to bless us with her speech. She is Ayurvedic practitioner, yoga teacher, exercise physiologist, and nutritionist. For over 17 years, she was the student of AIAS and is under for 3 years. And after graduating as an Ayurveda practitioner, she traveled to India and spent some time to Vaidya Gram Ayurvedic Hospital for practical experience. She is now founder of the Golden A Ayurvedic Clinic in Perth, Western Australia. I would like to welcome her again and would like to request to proceed for her speech. Miss Elisa.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. So firstly, thank you for having me. It's a real honour to be part of this conference, and thank you to Dr. Ajit for the invitation. So as mentioned, I'm a graduate of Dr. Ajit, an Ayurvedic practitioner in Perth, Western Australia. So I've been running my clinic here for about 3 or 4 years. And today, through this session, I thought I'd share with you my experience in my clinic and why I believe Ayurveda has such a bright future here in Australia, and why all the things that have been outlined by the other speakers today, the importance of that, associations getting behind Ayurveda and the recognition and the approval of herbs and medicines, why that's so important, and how the community here is interested in Ayurveda. So the first thing I would like to share is one thing that I've found a wonderful starting point for people to be introduced to Ayurveda is through food, diet and nutrition. The Ayurvedic principles of nutrition really should be known to everybody, as most of us know. There's so much confusion and obsession about food in the world at the moment. So many diets, so many, food fads and dairy-free, gluten-free, vegans, fasting, keto. It's very confusing for people. and with social media and things like that, it confuses things even more. So many people have the right intention. They're trying to eat to be healthy, but they just don't have the right guidance or know where to start. So I've found through my clinic, educating them on, when to eat, what to eat, how to eat, getting people back in the kitchen, cooking home-cooked food, getting them using the kitchen spices, and providing understanding to people on how digestion and nourishment in the body works from an Ayurvedic perspective. This creates great insight for people. And this alone, just getting people to incorporate the Ayurvedic principles of nutrition, you see huge change in how they feel, their digestion, their appetite, their mental health, their overall health. I run a lot of, I've had a lot of interest in cooking classes, Ayurvedic cooking classes. And so starting with food, because people feel the benefits straight away. They feel lighter, they feel their digestion, their feels better. And they love the taste of the food and cooking with quality ingredients and spices and things like this, which is such a simple thing in Ayurveda, but we all know, just this alone through diet makes a huge difference to our health and well-being. So when we start with this, the interest in other areas of Ayurveda naturally comes. The second point I wanted to discuss was, as we know around the world, lifestyle-related diseases are on the rise. Heart disease, diabetes, obesity, all these. And what's Ayurveda all about? It's about creating a healthy lifestyle, living in tune with the seasons, with yourself, your day-to-day routines, the importance of this relative to our health. And it's clearly, as you all know, clearly stipulated in the traditional Ayurvedic texts in great detail, so specific: when to eat, when to sleep, seasonal daily routines, and just living more in tune with ourselves and our environments. So I believe if this is shared, within the community, the people of Australia, it would dramatically reduce the likelihood of these diseases. I've had people in my clinic that just through adopting diet and lifestyle practices of Ayurveda, they've either had not to go on to medication, or they've been able to reduce their medications that they're on, or they've just been able to manage their own health through Ayurveda and reduce their risk of these issues, which is just wonderful, and Ayurveda offers so much more specific treatment for these issues than they actually receive from their doctors, or just through reading, online in certain associations and things. So this is Ayurveda, and lifestyle-related diseases would just complement hugely. Another aspect I'm seeing is, all over the world, there's increases in mental health issues, and our lifestyles we live these days, fast-paced technology, even with COVID, a lot of these mental health problems, depression, anxiety, suicide, even issues with young children and ADHD, autism, all these things, behavioural problems, are all growing. And Ayurveda is all about building awareness in every aspect of our lives and in ourselves, and being more conscious, and understanding ourselves on every level, our thoughts, feelings, emotions. So every day we need to work on this, on our mental health and our state of mind. And Ayurveda supports this greatly. As we know, the goal of Ayurveda is this, and it's so positive that the community is becoming more open to talking about these sort of issues, mental health, understanding that mental health plays a huge part in the manifestation of physical disease. Whereas there would have been a time where this wasn't the case. So, and Ayurveda recognises this, and has, herbs, practices that can really, really assist with these issues in a natural way. And as yoga has popped all over the world, as well as meditation and mindfulness have all become quite trendy. And I believe Ayurveda is heading in the same direction. I've found a wonderful way to share Ayurveda in the community is through yoga studios. People are very, very interested. They're very intrigued. They may not know what Ayurveda is, or they may know a little bit about it, or they, but they want to know more. So the more Ayurveda is shared in the community, and particularly through, things like yoga, it will spread very quickly. Another aspect that is extremely popular with Ayurveda is the Ayurvedic treatments. I mean, who doesn't love a warm Ayurvedic Abhyanga massage or a Shirodhara? I mean, when people come and experience Ayurvedic treatments, there's a real wow factor. People haven't experienced anything like it. The warm oil, the nurturing touch, the calming feeling for the nervous system, the letting go effect that these treatments have. People walk out of my clinic, they look different, they feel different, they sleep like a baby that night. They feel calmer, they feel clearer, more content. There's not many treatments that you can receive and experience all these benefits, and it's because the Ayurvedic treatments are so unique. They're specific, they're nurturing and nourishing, which a lot of us these days aren't used to receiving that nurture and nourishment. We're all go, push sort of in our lifestyles. And let's not forget they're extremely powerful, when it comes to healing health issues and rebalancing the body. So, I've had many clients that now come for Abhyanga massages instead of going and getting their deep tissue massage, which, they used to end up, sore and bruised at the end of it. They come because the benefit is so much greater on many levels, that benefit. So, in time, as Ayurveda grows, the treatments will definitely become more popular in time. Another factor where Ayurveda has a lot of strength is that these days people are craving natural alternatives for their health. And be it for a common headache or earache or cut or burn or cold or flu, or for a more serious health issue, and particularly in children, you're seeing mums not wanting to give their children medicine or chemical-based, chemist-based products. They want to give them, if they can, something natural. And Ayurveda has a huge strength here, and a lot to offer. Be it from the kitchen home remedies, to to obviously Ayurveda has some of the most specific, unique and well formulated natural medicines in the world. And that's why when you've all the other speakers have spoken about the importance of getting these medicines approved for use in Australia, the demand is definitely there. People will choose those options over more, regular medicines. So the demand for this and the availability of herbs and formulations, is on the increase. I mean, people already know, as some have mentioned, about, are becoming a little bit more familiar with some of the Ayurvedic herbs, turmeric and ashwagandha and neem and aloe vera and charanprash. Some people know now and recognize those herbs as Ayurvedic herbs, which is a real positive. They're getting recognized as Ayurvedic and not just a herb, so that alone, emphasizes the importance of that recognition and approval of those herbs for Australia. Another really unique aspect of Ayurveda is the dinacharya, the daily routines. Outlined in Ayurveda, like looking after the 5 senses and clearing toxins on a daily basis. This is really, really unique to Ayurveda. And there's no importance placed on this in any other health modality. People are very unaware of the importance of this and the influence it has on disease and their imbalances. They're quite often surprised when you talk about these aspects relative, as a causative factor to their health issue. But then when you understand and educate, it's common sense. They think, wow, yeah, that's obvious, But this is a real strength of Ayurveda, and it allows people to recognize and become aware of what's causing their issues, and they're able to correct it. Okay, which is and then obviously as a daily routine and incorporating this as a part of their lifestyle, it allows them to manage their health. Now, a very sort of I'd say trendy part of Ayurveda is Prakriti, and people wanting to know their constitution or dosha. And very common for people to come to my clinic when they hear a bit about Ayurveda and they read a bit about Ayurveda. They want to come and find out what their constitution is and how to live more in tune with this, which is wonderful. It's very intriguing for people. And in terms of the treatment of health issues, it allows Ayurveda to treat people as unique individuals and not just giving that one prescription for everyone. I feel people are a little tired of that one prescription. They go for help at and they're just given what everyone else is given. It's not a specific protocol for them. And when they understand that's what Ayurveda is about, is treating people, their specific needs relative to their constitution and their imbalances, this is very attractive to people. And when people understand this and their experience, and through the treatment of Ayurveda, they don't turn back. People embrace Ayurveda when they understand this and it's helped them in some way. And the beauty of this is that it provides people with the power to look after their own health, which is what we want, right? People to be able to, on a daily basis, look after their own health and balance themselves. It gives them an understanding of what makes them healthy, what makes them unhealthy, and what makes them balanced or out of balance. And I do believe once Ayurveda grows in the community and people gain more understanding about its specific treatment, it will grow greatly. You know, this is a very attractive part of Ayurveda for people to get them interested and for their treatment of their health issues. So just to sort of finish up, I'd also like to mention that the importance of that we're very lucky here in Australia, even though from what everybody has shared about the improvements that or the hurdles that we have being practitioners or doctors in Australia, and keeping the essence of Ayurveda true in Australia. I do believe we're very lucky to have good quality courses like Dr. Ajit's course with the AIIS Institute. This is essential for, you know, well-trained quality practitioners to be operating in the community and spreading Ayurveda in a authentic and traditional way. So I believe that that's a really, you know, even though there's some way to go, we're on the right track in terms of that. It's a good start. So just to finish, as you may notice, I'm quite excited about being part of this Ayurvedic journey and sharing it in the community and in Australia. And I believe that there's a really, really bright future for Ayurveda here, and the interest is here. The people want more. People want to, you know, craving this sort of natural health, and Ayurveda makes a lot of sense to people. They connect with it, and as many of us know, if Ayurveda has more of a prominent sort of position in the community, the benefit for everyone is very great on many levels, now and in the future, and for humanity will be tremendous. So, and even more so with what's going on in the world at the moment with COVID, etc. So I hope through what I've shared today has just provided you a little bit of insight into the positive aspects of how Ayurveda is being received in the community and in my clinic, and why it will only grow in Australia, and let's hope it grows in a positive traditional way, and why the recognition of what everybody has brought up today is essential for its growth, you know, to for the best of Ayurveda in the future here. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have nicely elaborated all the issues. I hope excellent, very great speech. We will be inviting you again also in our webinars. Now I would like to invite Mr. Scott Allen, founder of Ayurveda and Yoga Therapy Clinic, Sunshine Coast. So I would like to hand over the mic now to Mr. Scott Allen. Am I audible to you, Mr. Scott?
Yes, hi there. Thank you. Just testing the audio. It's okay.
Welcome.
Thank you for letting me be part of this event. My respects in regards to Dr. Pawan Sharma and everyone else this evening, and in particular Dr. Ajit. I am one of Dr. Ajit's graduates. Just briefly, for a bit of history, I was first introduced to Dr. Ajit about 2006 or 2007. He was referred to me from a local doctor because I was interested in training to be an Ayurvedic practitioner. The local doctor at the time mentioned Dr. Ajit was a very good person to train with, very thorough. And he also, she also mentioned if I wanted to find out more about Dr. Ajit, she gave me 3 references who were also doctors in Australia, integrative doctors or naturopaths, who could refer Dr. Ajit as well. I called all 3 of them, and they all had held Dr. Ajit in really high regards. So I commenced my training with Dr. Ajit, and basically the practice I run works within that scope that I was taught, and I've done that ever since I started my practice. One, I do that because for the safety for the community, but I want to present Ayurveda in a the best traditional form possible. So even though I am have some science training as well, in my practice, I still fundamentally use Ayurveda as the main part of the practice. And of course, working within that scope of what we were taught, how we were taught to work as a practitioner in Australia. So part of my scope was to do that in my training, and like I said, that makes that sets the foundation for the success of how our clinic has been through the years. Our clinic sits on the main street of Budrum on the Sunshine Coast, and we have a regular clientele that come in. Basically, you know, if any challenges come up that I see coming up the most since I've been practicing, the reference to people coming in, whether they're, you know, as a client, they come in as a doctor, or they're a psychologist, or a chiropractor, or a Chinese medicine practitioner, or naturopath. So they come into the clinic, you know, because they have a strong interest in Ayurveda, and they want to, you know, work on some of their own issues. But one of the things that they regularly say to me is, why is Ayurveda not recognized that well, you know? Something I cannot answer. I don't know why, but after listening today, hearing everyone talk, it seems like there's a lot of work going on to resolve that, which is really nice to hear. But that's probably the main challenge that I come up with is when they don't see that it's registered, they are a little bit doubtful about the practice then. Some of them refer their clients on as well. But again, there's still that little bit of uncertainty, which is there still. Some of the other things that I witness in the practice is it's quite common for someone to walk in off the street and say, can you give me Amrita Rishta, Dashamula Rishta, or you know, this other specific Ayurvedic herb. It's definitely one of the challenges I've noticed in the practice coming up, and they want me to sell that herb over the counter to them. One of the things I don't do is I don't do that. I recommend they should have a consultation and go through the proper way of approaching their health and well-being. Now, the reason for that is because they see the medicine online, so they might see Amrita Rishta does this, or Dashamula Rishta does this, or Ashwagandha Rishta. So then they want to, you know, purchase that particular item. So is, one of our things we do here is we always recommend that client, again, they have the consultation first. We give them the reasons why. Once we educate them on that, I'd say 100% of the time they're so glad they've gone through that process of traditional Ayurvedic diagnosis, and gaining some insight into what's happening within their body, then addressing the correct diet and lifestyle and herbal medicines from there. So we're not just trying to sell our herbs to maintain our business. Our business has been maintained by these people coming in for consultations. That's how we've developed our reputation over the years as well. And I guess that is another part I was speaking about, that Ayurveda is not just about taking these herbs. A lot, like Alicia said, we are giving a lot of emphasis on the morning routines and diet, lifestyle advice, and introducing treatments into the program to help people with their health problems that come in. So that's really all I wanted to touch base on, was that strong interest from other practitioners within the community. The street I work with has a lot of different medical practitioners around, and there is a strong interest in Ayurveda, and we are regularly being approached by these people as well. So that's, in one case, we've had the local medical center contact us. They were highly interested in working with us, and that was just due to our patients, seeing them after they'd visited us. They'd obviously seen the good results, so they contacted us, wanted to work, but once they found out we did not have a provider number, we weren't covered by APRA, they just didn't want anything to do with us, and regularly we'll have someone drop in the neighborhood who definitely wants to connect in that way. Probably the other thing I wanted to touch base on is the with the training that we do receive. Like I mentioned at the beginning, the scope of that training is, at the end of it, is to become a practitioner, to run our clinics. That scope isn't to become a teacher afterwards in Ayurveda. And for those out there who are learning it, I really hope they just work within that scope as well. Be confident you'll have you'll gain success just sticking with those basics without having to work out if you're out of your scope. That's really all I have to say this afternoon, and thank you, everyone. I've really enjoyed the talk, and thank you.
Nicely you explained each and every aspect. Excellent, Mr. Scott. Thank you very much. Now I would like to request Professor Madan Thangveluji. Professor Madan Thangveluji, for your observation.
Thank you. I hope you can see me. Thanks, Scott. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Vanitaji. Thank you to Ajitji, Ghoshji, Thakurji. Thank you so much. You have taken us into certain areas that we weren't completely familiar with. I mean, I connect with Ajitji, I connect with Vanitaji, and as Vanitaji mentioned, we were involved in a trial, in a study on herbals for COVID. And I was aware of certain things with Ajit. He was with us in Germany at the European World Ayurveda Congress in 2016. So we have connected over a long period. But understanding the nitty-gritties and the fine details as presented today is extremely valuable. Particularly enjoyed Scott's presentation and also Alicia's presentation. You take us into an aspect of what I phrase intercultural dialogue, which is very, very important in this next stage in promoting not only Ayurveda, but the entire Ayush systems. And people like yourselves, Scott and Alicia, you're very important for us because you become the true, for want of a better word, true ambassadors for this big body of knowledge that needs to go across the intercultural barriers and understanding. Here in the UK, I connect with the all-party parliamentary group for Indian traditional sciences. We are the only parliament in the world that has an all-party parliamentary group for Indian traditional sciences. Even India doesn't have. Yes, it has a Ministry of Ayush, but it hasn't a platform where all the systems come together. There are many other platforms in India where these dialogues happen, but not at the level of the parliament where we take these discussions. The all-party parliamentary group is very important because it connects very closely with many of the activities that will appear at the level of the Commonwealth of Nations, 54 countries, 2.5 billion people who are connected by, of course, the old British Empire, but also connected by the ease of use of English as a language. As you can see here, we all communicate in English. And there are many other partner countries who will come into this. So we are very excited that Australia and New Zealand, some of the key ingredients, along with Canada, we'll have an event with Canada later on. They're the key ingredients and the key players in the Commonwealth of Nations. So what is happening here and the discussions that are happening here is the first step to opening those avenues towards the about 2.5 billion people of the world for these systems of medicine. We've seen here the kind of discussions that should happen a little more frequently, and understanding the happenings on the ground. So as Ghoshji mentioned, the Ministry of Ayush now has what they call the Ayush chairs. These are senior teachers deputed from India to go to different countries, almost like missionaries, to go and spread the word and to connect with the university. I don't know how far the dialogue is with Australia or New Zealand to establish one of these chairs there, Ayush chair, for both those countries. I think it's something that collectively we could think about and see how this can be presented to the Ministry of Ayush. Of course, we'll have to. The early discussions will have to be routed through the local high commissions in Australia and New Zealand. But I think what we've done here is a very important dialogue. We've got that started. We've shown the directions in which we need to go, and we're bringing together a lot of actors together. It's a very difficult task. As Ajitji and Vanithaji have presented, it's a very difficult task to bring people together. And partly because they have worked in isolation for long periods of time, but it's happening there. What we've seen today is the ease with which we can bring people together and to start thinking about a bigger future. Now, the bigger future, I put some comments on the chat box here, that the bigger future is clearly to do with what people need locally. The entire body of Ayurveda is vast, huge numbers of textbooks, huge numbers of commentaries, all in the best Sanskrit. An outsider, even a native Indian who knows Sanskrit, will find it almost impregnable to get through this text and to understand what went through the minds of the people who wrote these texts and who put these commentaries together. Now, that shouldn't intimidate you, because India has a huge number of people who are well versed in these texts. So the challenge for you people now is to make those bridges between your wishes, what you see locally. Alicia was very nice in presenting her what happens locally where Alicia works. And what I like particularly is how people felt after a simple Abhyanga. And Abhyanga itself is a huge technique. When we go into the modern physiology aspects of Abhyanga, you will see the number of neuronal cells on the skin and the kind of effects they can have in whole body physiology. So as a genome biologist, I'm excited about those things. And I feel that is where maybe we can take dialogues forward between governments, between Indian government and the Australian government. You have excellent institutions both in New Zealand and Australia. Maybe there is a way to integrate this at that level, at the physiology level. You know, don't confuse people with the depth of the Ayurveda texts in Sanskrit. Don't confuse them with the depths of the Ayurvedic terminology and the etymology of each of those words. Every word that's used in Ayurveda has a deep etymological foundation, which connects to the grammar of Sanskrit, etc. So that's a lifetime of study. And maybe we shouldn't go into that space. We should try and see how we can enable more discussions based on what people are feeling. Alicia's comment was very exciting. Scott, your comments are very exciting. We need to see how we can make those bridges between what you see in the street, in your clinics, and how to make this connection between the universities that you've studied with. I see Alicia has studied sports science. It's a big area where we can start dialoguing and maybe keep the depths and the body of knowledge of Ayurveda for the moment, just keep it away and see if we can find another way. And I feel that's the path of least resistance. Alicia is very correct in saying that as soon as people wake up, there are people who come to you who come for a reason. You went to, Scott, you went to Ajitji to study Ayurveda. Something pulled you towards this stuff. The same with Alicia, she was pulled to this thing. And then you take it back to the community and you see those amazing. We need to document those stories. We need to document these things. If you look at if you review the recordings of earlier webinars, question that's raised by Matthew here. If you look at the earlier recordings, you will see amazing presentations on similar lines. There was an eloquent presentation by somebody from New Zealand, identical to what Alicia was presenting. So there are ways in which we can form that local network. And India, Pavanji is there. There are so many other organizations who will join in and fill those gaps. Ask your questions. Reach out and ask whatever question you have. There are people who will come out to help you understand those things. It's much easier then to make the connection with the local population, with the local needs. I have distilled some of my thoughts here on the chat box from listening to Alicia. And the whole idea of Ritucharya, Dinacharya, Swasthavrit, there are deep physiological foundations for this. Now, I want to finish off by highlighting just one point. When we look at Ayurvedic systems, we say that as the seasons progress, you have to readjust your body for the seasons. As molecular biologists, when we look at this, we see those effects on the immune system. And particularly interesting for us sitting here in the Northern Hemisphere to compare the differences in the Southern Hemisphere. You people are there in the Southern Hemisphere, and we are up here in the midst of summer. You are having a winter season there in the Southern Hemisphere. Now, a lot of people don't realize when we try and take Ayurveda from one part of the world to other, India, being in the Northern Hemisphere, if we are not sensitive to these kind of fine details, we find difficulties in bridging these knowledge systems. So I feel what has happened today is an amazing step towards building those bridges. I've put comments here saying, can we think about the 6-year BAMS course and a 2-year MD level course at the university level? Keep in mind, that is what is required if you really want to get to understanding Ayurveda. There are students from other parts of the world who come to India, who study Ayurveda locally. At Jamnagar, there are students who come from everywhere. There are students who come from Korea. There are students who come from Japan. There are students who come from France and who learn everything in Sanskrit. I was happy to share with you names of people from France who come to learn Ayurveda, and they've gone back to France and they're trying to understand local herbs using the Ayurvedic Dravyaguna concepts. Now, these are there are students from America who've come to the south of India, to the state of Karnataka. They have learned Ayurveda in Sanskrit. Marian is a student from Germany. She came to Kerala. She studied Ayurveda in Kerala. And not only did she top the university, but she also won prizes in Sanskrit. So we have examples of this kind, but these are the special people. They are the outliers. And I think for most of us who are at a different level, we need another way to engage. And this platform that Pavanji has offered, and he's continuing to offer, coming up to the 200th webinar soon, is a platform where I feel many more of these details can be discussed, elaborated. And once we've rehearsed it, like we are doing now, we are then in a firmer, stronger position to present it to the Indian missions in New Zealand, Australia. We can articulate our needs more clearly, and we can make a stronger case for what we need. So thanks to everybody who was here. I can see a lot of students who are here with us from Australia. Thank you all for joining us today. Keep in touch. Pavanji's contact details are there. I've taken the liberty of putting my contact details there on the top of the chat box. Please save this chat. It has a lot of precious things in there, and there are many other points related to Dr. Ghosh's presentation that we would all like to revisit and learn more about. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thanks to Pavanji for providing us this wonderful platform for discussions. And I hope Pavanji, I think he will be taking this event, he'll be taking it, he's already taken it to USA, he's going to take it to Canada, he's going to take it to France, and he'll be taking it to South America. And we'll have many more countries here in Europe that we touch. Ayush, the Ministry of Ayush has 4 Ayush chairs here in Europe. They started off with one in Hungary. They have one now in Slovenia. They have one in Moscow. And there's one more here in Europe. And I hope not long before we establish something like this in Australia and New Zealand. We want independent chairs in Australia and New Zealand. But I think if we sit together and discuss this, we'll be able to shape what we want in those interventions from the Ministry of Ayush. So I look forward to help and guidance from everybody. Pavanji will take us further into more interactions with other nations of the world. So thank you once again. Pavanji, namaskar. Thank you. Thanks to everybody here once again on my behalf. It's really lovely to listen to people who are the key actors, but we never hear about people. So thanks, Scott. Thanks, Alicia. And thanks, Ghoshji. Thank you all for being here with us today. Namaskar.
Thank you, Professor. Now, fortunately, we have Dr. Harish Verma. Dr. Harish Verma is President, founder of Canadian College of Ayurveda and Yoga, INC, founder of Best Ayurveda Limited and Canada Ayurveda Association, Ayurveda Practitioner Association. So for his valuable comment, I would like to welcome. Tomorrow also he will be there in Canada webinar. Fortunately, he is in India, so I am blessed with his presence. Dr. Harish Verma.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar. Namaskar, everyone. Am I audible?
Harish ji, namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar. So I posted one question, and I want to ask again from the people who are living in who are practicing Ayurveda in Australia, whether is there any regulation which which we can say which restrict them for using Ayurvedic composition if they are preparing for their patients in the clinic. Like, say, for example, if we are preparing Hingvastic churn in our clinic and giving to the patient, is there any regulation? Or, my question is to Dr. Ajit ji and to Dr. Neeraj Thakur ji.
Okay, Dr. Harish ji, the things are, you can, like you said, any Hingvastika preparation or Sitopadi preparations. The thing is, anything which you give as a practitioner to the patient to cure their problems, to get away from the illness, anything which you formulate in a form of medicine, then it should be TGA approved. Any single herb, if you give them as for the treatment, it should be ethically, it should be TGA approved. But there is one flaw for this. What the practitioners, some of the practitioners, they are doing here, they registered these herbs like in a food category. What they do, they are making avlehams like chavanprash or some gritas like trifla grit, and they are providing them as under the food consumption, which I think is not the promotion of Ayurveda. If you are saying this gritam used as like a dietary composition, as a dietary management, so we are like going other way around. We are not performing as an Ayurveda physician, as a saying like it is being meant as a disease to cure the disease, but they are performing like as a providing as a food, some of the practitioners. So in that sense, you don't need any permission from TGA. Like simple, if you are the main thing which the Aussies like the Indian food, the butter chicken or other Indian curries, in which we uses the spices, they are not concerned about it. But same spices, if you give them in herbs as like in a formulation to treat them, then the TGA comes into the way. TGA don't have any objection. You can use them. The only problem comes if some pros and cons arises thereafter using that herbs, then who's answerable? From where you do get these herbs? If you get that herbs, maybe that herb have some high levels of metals. Even they are so skeptical, they say let it be one herb. If we say clove, if it comes into one container and it is contaminated because the container is made up of iron or some metal, the metal part comes to the clove, then who is responsible? Although the metal container is responsible for that, that is being in, the imported or the stored, their product is stored. So there are there are very fusses about this thing. It's very confusing to the practitioners who like, but although if we are doing the safest way to keep yourself safe, then it is okay. There is no trouble. TJ don't have any trouble. Only trouble comes if there is some trouble. If something happens wrong, then you are answerable to them. How you can use that as a therapeutic use to the patients. Either they are simple herbs, simple kitchen herbs. This is what I know of. Dr. Vinita, I have to say something for your question as well. Like she can say.
Also, I would like to add on into this, like, because if there is any kind of like, side effect that happens, like to any of the client, like they get a kind of impact happen and they end up to say that catch up like all these Ayurvedic practitioners, they've not even registered, and some of the naturopaths who are qualified naturopaths who are not trained and haven't even taken any kind of like local qualification, diploma or advanced diploma, but just getting knowledge from the other existing people who are selling the products just by saying because these are TGA approved. Anyone can prescribe that. To naturopaths, they are recommending. That's where it is happening, and it's where we need the standardization. That if it's an Ayurvedic herb or a medicine, it should be only be prescribed or given by the qualified Ayurvedic practitioner. Shouldn't be sold like as a food, as even Dr. Neeraj mentioned. And there had been cases not long ago that people had side effects. And if you prepare, say, for example, even hingvashtak or sitopladi, what Dr. Harish mentioned, this is not something that you should be giving, because you don't know if something goes wrong with the client. Even the insurance wouldn't cover that, because you give something which is kind of like compounded, even though like you can compound and combine like single herbs, but if they are TGA approved or they are given by the practitioners that are registered, or are local single herbs that are registered under TGA, whether as a food supplement or as a Ayurvedic herb, that definitely still can be considered by the insurance companies and can be considered that, okay, this has caused adverse effect, but where did this product come from? That's where the question arises. But like legally, you are not basically allowed to do that. That's utmost important. Like, and what Neeraj, Dr. Neeraj is referring to, there are, I even know a lot of even registered practitioners, like they are making homemade products and they're selling the Ayurvedic herbs under the name of like food supplements, and which, if something like it's always to the people, they start relating Ayurveda more just like everything that's given to them, even though it's a herb and it has a therapeutic effect on the body, that is considered as a food, not as a medicine. So that undermines the value of Ayurveda and puts it down, basically. And people start taking like anyone can take it because it's a food supplement, if that answers your question. Yeah. So it's all about standardization and doing the ethical practice. Like as a practitioner, as an Ayurvedic practitioner, if they're prescribing any herbs, if they're not, fair enough. But if they are, that should be only be allocated to the Ayurvedic, registered Ayurvedic practitioner or qualified Ayurvedic practitioner who should be prescribing that, and as a medicine, not as a food. And food can be in the form of spices, which is like turmeric, cloves, cardamom, cinnamon, all that other spices which our Indian kitchen, every Indian kitchen, especially our Asian kitchens, have it. And they had been using for ages, like, and age long. Turmeric, which has become like a fad now. People don't even know how to use it. They're taking it with the smoothies, which shouldn't be taken. Like it's a apatya ahar. Yeah, mithya ahar. We know like it's an incompatible food. Like and like people are taking it with the cold water and we're putting in their juices, like, because they think like it's anti-inflammatory and it's going to benefit them. It's just like uninformed and unaware public that's being misled by all these people who are even registered practitioners, but they are selling the products under the name of food supplements only, and not talking about the therapeutic values, the Ayurvedic form of like, and how it can benefit in the Ayurveda way. So that's all I wanted to say. I don't know if everyone agrees, but this is where we have to raise the standard of Ayurvedic practitioner, like the Chinese medicine practitioners have. That's why they are in the mainstream, because there is a difference. They are not selling Chinese herbs in the grocery stores. It's not there. And it's not being undermined. If you need a Chinese herb, you actually go to a Chinese medicine practitioner and you get it from there. And people start comparing it. Or it's lying over there as well at the Indian grocery store. I should buy it from there. What do you say to them? What do you tell them? So this is where we are like today. And these are the things that needs to be standardized, and the standards need to be raised for the Ayurveda and Ayurveda, basically. Yeah, it's the fifth Ved, we call it, and it's a traditional Indian medicine. It's a medicine, and it's not just a science. We are not going to compare, like, you know, and go into all the details, because there is a lot of myths and facts and talking about the art and the mythology, because it's a big gap between the food, the nutrition. That's the way of life. That's the lifestyle, to deal with lifestyle. But the herbs that are registered, TGA actually doesn't even register Ayurvedic herbs. And a lot of people don't even know that. It's the quarantine that takes the plants into account. Any plant-based product comes under and gets registered under, authorized and mandated by the quarantine, not even by the TGA. TGA basically deal with mainly with the restricted herbs or with the food supplements and nutritional food value. That what comes through the TGA. So whatever is coming and being stocked, the Ayurvedic medicines in the Indian grocery stores, they are actually getting because they are registered under TGA, under the food supplements. But if you have to get the herbs, you have to deal with the quarantine. Quarantine is the main body where we deal with, not with the TGA. And TGA has sent even to Jhandu, Imami, all the big manufacturers and the companies, all these, like there was a letter issued by the TGA, like what falls under that category, under the TGA category. And that letter, I have it in my email. I can even share that. That was sent to all the main manufacturers across India. So TGA is there. It's therapeutic goods administration, but it only registers what comes under the food or anything restricted. Any herbs or plants are under quarantine. I'm just clarifying this because there has been a lot of confusion going on. I've been practicing. I was one of the first Ayurvedic practitioner who actually started Ayurveda in Australia 23 years ago. And there was not even one single practitioner at that time. So it took me 2 years just to find out how I can start practicing here. And then Dr. Ajit's students, they used to come and work with me as a Panchakarma therapist. They learned so much from me. And then whoever came after me, they just contacted me, finding out how they can get registered, what they need to do, and how they can start practicing. So that's what I had been doing, training, guiding people, and putting them the way. Just do everything. Make your practice more on the ethical basis. If you are going to do an ethical practice, you meet the code of conduct, nobody can challenge you. And these are the standards we are setting, and the benchmarks we are setting in even with the qualifications, like to get these dispensing and all that, like courses started, so that it can come to that stage and it can achieve that level of, and the standards can be raised. That's what I submitted in the Case for Change report. So that's where we need the collaboration and come up to uplift the standards of the practice. And that is the scope of Ayurveda anywhere in the world. It's people are uninformed what they're doing. They just get themselves registered, do the first aid, get the public liability and professional indemnity insurance done, and they start practicing, open up the practice without getting any experience, without even talking, and working with somebody experienced who is already in there, and getting the experience and then getting into the practice mode like an independent running practice. Yes, it's locally qualified, there is not an issue. But if you from overseas, you have a lot of information. It's even, as Professor Madan mentioned, there is a culture barrier. So we need to cross that barrier. We need to understand the Eastern culture along with the Western, where it's to be accepted worldwide.
Nice answer, madam. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Professor Vishnu Prasad Sharma ji, ex-principal, Government Ayurvedic College, Guwahati, and President Vishwa Ayurved Parishad, Assam, for his concluding remarks. Respected Dr. Vishnu Prasad Sharma ji.
Namaskar, good evening. Respected Professor Madan Thangavaluji, respected Dr. Pawan Kumar Sharmaji, Dr. Harish Verma, Ashok Sharmaji, respected Dr. Vanita Sharma, respected Dr. S. Ajit, eminent speaker, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I offer my sincere thanks to Dr. Vanita Sharma for inaugurating today's webinar, and she delivered a nice talk. Thank you very much. She gives stress of Ayurvedic practice in Australia. She nicely described medicine sold as a supplement. Some of the Ayurvedic herbs not allowed to practice or not available, she mentioned. She gives stress. Ayurveda education in some countries are there, but it should be up to mark. She said that she is practicing more than 28 years. So Ayurvedic message is regulated by the message law. And she said that Ayurvedic medicine are imported from India and Sri Lanka. So thank you, Dr. Vanita Sharma, for your wonderful talk. Next, I would like to offer my sincere thanks to Dr. S. Ajit as a chief guest. Namaskar, sir. He gives stress what type of courses are running, in different countries, and it should be up to mark. It should be up to mark. Ayurvedic doctors can practice. Ayurvedic doctor can practice in Australia without any license. He gives stress standard of Ayurvedic teaching. He gives stress to increase the qualities of teaching in various institutions in abroad. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful talk. Now I would like to offer my sincere thanks to the eminent speaker, Dr. Neeraj Thakur, for his wonderful talk. Next, I would like to offer my sincere thanks to Dr. Dilip Ghosh for his wonderful talk. Next, I would like to offer my thanks to Dr. Mrs. Elsia Hay. She said she liked Ayurvedic cooking. She learned more Ayurveda from India. She practicing there. She gives stress on Dino Sajja and Ritu Sajja. And whatever problems she faced, she highlighted very nicely. So thank you, Dr. Mrs. Alicia Hay, for your wonderful talk. Thank you, madam. Next, I would like to offer my sincere thanks to Scott Allen for wonderful talk and what type of problems are there. So thank you, Dr. Scott Allen, for wonderful talk. Next, namaskar to all. Namaskar.
Thank you all. Excellent session with very much very relevant information in presentable manner. Excellent. I am grateful to all speakers and experts of the dais to participate in this. Thank you. Tomorrow we are moving to Canada, where Dr. Harish Verma will be with us. I am thankful to Dr. Vanita ji. Thank you very much. So please join us for Canada also. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Please share the links to maximum possible persons to involve them, because this is non-commercial, wholly aim for knowledge sharing. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Again, good night.